Try not to cry as I kill you. I think I'll upload it to YouTube afterwards.
Do you like theme parks? Do you like killing heroes? Well, if you said yes to one of these, then Dungeonland, a new cooperative action game from the Brazilian developer Critical Studio and published by Paradox Interactive, got you all covered. In Dungeonland, you take on the role of either a hero and together with your allies, go out to gather more shiny coins. Or you take on the role of the Dungeon Master himself and make sure the silly heroes experience the deadliest ride of their lives. The recently released Dungeonland holds a nice concept. But the question here, of course, is Dungeonland worth playing?
Yeah, I am the beer holder. Behold me with all your eyes.
Dungeonland doesn't tell you any particular story, but is all about a dungeon master frustrated with smelly heroes taking all the loot. So his solution, obviously, was to create a wonderful theme park filled with shops, rides and, well, mostly big scary monsters. In Dungeonland, you can visit various different rides, of which the Dungeon Maestro Tower is generated from different random board pieces. And in those different maps, you'll encounter a set of different monsters that all look sufficiently goofy. The theme in Dungeonland is, as you would imagine, incredibly serious. That is to say, it has a rather cutesy and cartoony look to it all, with strange flying hamburgers, houses with chicken legs, and, of course, a ton of sheep. The heroes themselves are valiant and prime examples of capable rogues, warriors and mages. The environment is filled with color and there will be plenty of locations that will leave you smiling, after which that smile is quickly bashed off your face by some incoming theme park employees. Clearly, this art style is not going to appeal to everyone, but regardless, it has a ton of flavor and charm to it all. All the while, it's filled with excellent voice acting of the Dungeon Master and here and there silly commentary from the heroes themselves. But it does have its issues. The camera in particular can be obscured by a ton of objects within the environment, making it hard to see what is going on. And throughout it all, I couldn't help but thinking it would be nice if you could destroy more of the surrounding environment. Regardless, they clearly put a lot of effort into the atmosphere, and although there is no such thing as a story guiding you along, much of the game's power lies in its excellent charm. As cute and cartoony as the game might look, Dungeonland isn't to be taken lightly. Dungeonland allows you to play in two different modes, the first being the adventure mode, in which you and up to 2 others take up the hero roles and make your way across one of the dungeons. In this mode, teamwork is crucial, or else you'll easily be crushed by the devious little minions. The second mode, the DM mode, allows you to play in a group of 4, of which one will take up on the role of the Dungeon Master, and the other 3 will try and navigate themselves to the final stage. All the while, the Dungeon Master will have a set of random cards that he or she picked before starting the game, and now has to combine them in a sufficient manner to crush the heroes in their steps. The heroes themselves are divided into 3 main classes, the Rogue, the Warrior, and the Mage, and each class then has 3 different weapons to use. Take the Mage for instance. He can be equipped with the fire element or can switch out to a colder stance, throwing ice around. Every class does matter when playing as the heroes, and knowing your little role is important. The Mage is mostly there to keep others alive with his Ray of Awesome, no really that's the name, while the Rogue can utilize quick backstabs to instantly kill dangerous minions, and the Warrior is, well, obviously there to play the meat shield. The combat itself is nothing special, but it does the job. It's reminiscent of playing an action RPG and relies heavily on spamming the dodge ability in order to evade attacks or quickly travel to or away from enemies. And it is quite satisfying to show that Dungeon Master who's the boss by working as a solid team. However, the main issue with the combat here is the plain simplicity of it all. Every class only has 2 abilities, one defined by whatever subclass you pick, say a Fire Wall with the Fire Mage or an Ice Wall with the Ice Mage. And then one key ability, like the Ray of Awesome or the Backstab ability. You can then use a potion, of which you can buy different kinds, and that's really about it. Finally, you can also have a few basic set of combinations you can use, such as the Rogue firing through an ice wall. Again, teamwork is important, and you do have to have a certain sense of when to dodge, use one of your abilities or the limited potions, but it's far from having a lot of depth. The Dungeon Master role isn't very complex either, but does allow you to do a bit more. Perhaps most importantly is the laugh button, with which you can mock your foolish frenemies. But beyond this, you get around 6 random cards based on your own chosen deck, that you have to use in order to defeat the heroes. As I said, these cards are based on your own compiled deck, and range from, well, most importantly, bunnies. You can send tons and tons of bunnies at the foolish heroes. Oh, and yeah, other lesser beings such as monkeys, ducks or orcs, but mostly bunnies. Beyond this, you'll have a set of spells that range from freezing heroes solid for a number of seconds to randomly switching around their entire control layout. Chances are your minions aren't doing their jobs well enough, and then you also have the option of taking care of business yourself, as you can possess any minion you control at any given time, allowing you to use their abilities and one specific possession ability. In short, you got plenty of tools to welcome your guests with.
You're out of mana, my lord.
Either way, these modes end in a third and final stage, the boss stage. Obviously, the heroes have to defeat the boss, and if you are playing as the Dungeon Master, you'll literally be controlling the final boss. Again, these come in various shapes and forms, of course all highly silly, and are quite fun to fight as or against. Once you complete a map, you'll be rewarded with the coins you gained throughout the match, and these coins can then be spent on unlocking more of these subclasses, unlocking more cards and abilities as the Dungeon Master, getting new kinds of traits and potions, and mainly on customizing your heroes with silly hats and outfits. Finally, it is pretty clear they want you to focus on playing with friends, as the AI of Dungeonland is really, in one word, garbage. For the most part, the AI of the enemies during adventure mode is alright, mainly due to the fact that it's really mostly about being swarmed by hordes of enemies, but it is made a lot easier by the fact that monsters can easily get stuck on really about anything. Bots are, sadly, even worse, and attempting to play this with 2 backup bots is really a no-go, as they can pretty much do nothing at all. Well, except dying. During the Dungeon Master role, this is the prime way to easily farm tons and tons of coins, as you'll likely win in under 2 minutes or so. But this is of course not fun or interesting. Bots like Monster AI get stuck on practically everything and are shockingly bad at performing the most basic tasks in the game. It is definitely something to keep in mind. The AI is plain terrible, meaning you aren't really going to get any enjoyment out of this game when playing solo. In short, Dungeonland is a solid game that lacks depth when playing, well, mainly as the heroes. There sadly aren't a lot of abilities or skills to utilize, and although the combat is enjoyable, more depth would have made this a ton more enjoyable. It has a ton of charm and has a highly amusing theme, with an obvious focus on playing with others. If you are playing this purely solo, it's not likely going to amuse you a lot due to the poor AI performance, but if you are playing this with a couple of friends, you can have a ton of fun with this goofy monster theme park simulator. Finally, it's sadly brought down a lot by the technical and connectivity issues the game currently has. There's a ton of bugs and otherwise issues with the game, and hopefully in a few patches or so, these will mostly be resolved. In which case, I'll gladly up the score to a 7. But for now, it's a cheap, but simple and certainly enjoyable cooperative experience. With that being said, I've been Haas from Haas Gaming, and I'll see you guys in the next review. Now, if you don't mind, I'm off to kill some more heroes with the power of bunnies.